Here.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be lit.
Is it?
Yeah, we kept all
Perfect.
the structures. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I've been bugging Wes to try and do something with that one behind the starting line. That was awesome. I spent the majority of my weekend there at the pro race, and that is that was very cool.
Me and Courtney were talking about being like tour guides or whatever for the VIPers. We ought to have you come in for like an autograph session or
Yeah,
something, or
for
shoot
sure.
or shoot the shit session. With
Yeah,
the VIPers. I think that'd be cool. Just some
absolutely.
different stuff for them to experience something different.
Yeah, we got like 40 people coming down from Canada just coming to watch the race, which is pretty cool. I
Wow,
mean,
there's gonna be a lot of Canadians there because
yeah, I know. I know
Scott
the
was
Smokies and
he
the
was
Wild
saying
Guffs
that he had
can't put
about
a
80.
team. Yeah, yeah. It's not hard to talk people into leaving this weather.
Leaving Canada for Florida.
We're to go to Florida where the sun shines. So,
I feel
um, yeah. So
Yeah.
it should be pretty cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
well, it will be cool. That's right. World Series of Pro Mod this weekend, actually 2 weekends from now, coming up in Bradenton, Florida. Let's go ahead and get to business, the racing business. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Drag Illustrated's The Racing Business with me, Jason Dukes. This week, we're 2 weeks away from the World Series of Pro Mod. So guess who we have on here this week? We have 2023 winner, Spencer Hyde. He's going to talk about, well, we'll see what he's going to talk about, but mostly about his racing, what happened to his life after the World Series of Pro Mod, and also the different businesses that he and his family have. So let's go ahead and bring on our guest for this week on The Racing Business, Mr. Spencer Hyde. Spencer, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So 2023 champion, World Series of Pro Mod. We're getting up. We're 2 weeks away from the World Series of Pro Mod here this year. So tell us about all the things you have going on for 2024.
We're pretty much the same as 2023. Going to do mostly PDRA stuff. Obviously, start off with the World Series of Pro Mod. It's a little bigger deal for me this year as we are the reigning champions. So I feel like we're going in there with a bit of a target on our back. Really looking forward to it. Our car at the end of 2023 really came around. We've front halved it and really started making some good runs in the later part of the season. I think we had probably the car to beat at Snowbirds. So really looking forward to going into World Series in a couple weeks and showing what we can do.
Any other plans in any other categories? I know a big deal for you last year was the top fuel thing, or I don't know if it was a big deal for you, but it was a big deal for us and in watching you do that.
It was definitely a big deal. I would love to do some more top fuel racing. It's just it's not a cheap way to go racing, and I told the Peyton boys that we weren't writing personal checks, so if I could find funding via sponsorship, we would do as many as we can. But that deal is not easy to put together, and I'm knocking on doors every day to try and make it happen. But like I said, it's just it's corporate America. You're relying on them, and there's only so much I can do on a part-time basis for sponsors and stuff like that. I mean, I'm very involved in a family business here at home, so I can't dedicate my time as much as a guy like I always use Ron Capps as an example. He's a true ambassador to his sponsor, to Napa Auto Parts, and he's all over the country all the time doing the right things with Napa Auto Pros and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I just can't give that much time. But yeah, if I can put something together, we'll definitely go fuel racing again. But we're working on that.
Cool. Well, that will probably be one of the things that we talk about here as as you just said, a part-time racer, talking about, how to run a business full-time and be a part-time racer. And also, but you won the World Series of Pro Mod, right? Like that's one of those pinnacle things that you can do as a part-time racer. So we'll definitely dig into that. But tell us about the 2024 plans for the different businesses that you're involved to, as this is a business show.
Well, like I said, I'm very involved in our family construction business here. So that's kind of priority one for me. We build a lot of multi-residential stuff, single family homes, a little bit of commercial stuff. We've done a bunch of car dealerships and stuff like that as well. So that's my main focus day to day. I'm in the office here 7 every morning till 5 at night, and then the racing's kind of from 5 till whenever I can, keep my eyes open. After that, I'm fortunate enough I live above my race shop, so the race car is not too far away for me to work on. So that's pretty cool for me. Other than that, I mean that eats up most of my time between the construction business and the racing business. I don't have a lot of time else to do anything else. So that's basically it.
Gotcha. And you said here, for the viewers that don't know where here is, where is here for you?
I'm in Ontario, Canada, so makes it logistically more challenging to race a U.S. Circuit like PDRA or NHRA. Our tows are very long. Our one to Florida this weekend's 24. Next weekend's 24 hours. And I, being a part-time racer, I don't have a full-time crew like most of these professional teams. So I help drive the rig and set up the awning and all that stuff that these pro teams have people to do. And all my guys are volunteers, so they just come with me and they take holidays from their full-time jobs to come do this. So I'm very lucky in that aspect to have good people like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a long, I got to leave for a week basically to go race for a weekend. And that, that hurts me business wise. I come back here on Mondays and Tuesdays and just try and catch up on the week that I missed. So it's tough to do 8-10 races for me, but I'm very passionate about it. And that's what I got to do got to work harder when you get home to go again. So that's what it is.
Gotcha. And an important part for the listeners to understand too is that it's possible.
It is. It's possible. It's just you gotta spend the time at it, and we've always been. My dad's always said, work's number one, and it is. I mean, we run a lean business up here, and we've only got about 20 guys, but we do quite a bit of work in a year, and he's 58 and trying to spend less time in the office. And, the weather's not very nice here in the winter. So he likes to be in Florida and golf, when he can. And he's in the office every morning down there and then golfs in the afternoon. But, the more time he spends down there means I got to spend more time here in the office. And that's challenging too with, these big winter races, snowbirds and World Series of Pro Mod and stuff that, it's important for me to be a part of for my racing career. But that means I got to be, weeks away from work, and it's all a challenge, but we make it work. We just set it up that, I've got lucky. I got some really good people at work here that help run things day to day. And they've all kind of bought into the program and support me in the racing, which is great. But yeah, it's possible, but it takes a lot of time and effort. That's for sure.
Yeah, dude. Well, can we talk about team and partners? Like, what does your current team on the business side look like? What does your current team on the racing side look like? And what are some of the partners involved?
Yeah. So the construction side, it's, my dad's still heavily involved, Pete, and my mom, still here as well. She runs kind of our, marketing, social media, stuff like that, and all of our community involvement. We're very involved in Stratford here, our local town, and sponsor a lot of sports teams and fundraising events and stuff like that. So she takes care of all that. And then I kind of run the day-to-day stuff. We've got a handful of project managers, controller and some support staff. And then we've got about 10 to 12 guys in the field running projects, and most of them are working supervisors or lead hands. And then we'll have anywhere from, there's days that we probably have close to 200 subtrades across all of our jobs on site. So it's busy. It's good. It keeps us on our toes and keeps us hopping, and generally we can run pretty smoothly. And then on the racing side of it, obviously that's kind of my gig. My dad wasn't a racer. this was kind of something I started in junior dragster and moved up the ranks and ended up where I am. And I've kind of assembled a team of guys that, a couple of them are longtime buddies. One of my guys I went to kindergarten with and went all through public school and high school with. Another guy has been my best friend since high school. We had grade 9 homeroom together, and that's how we met. He's my other truck driver and, kind of my main crew guy. He also works for me on the construction side of things. My uncle Ron, my dad's brother, he's been with me since junior dragster. So he's a big part of the team. And I got another guy, Neil Harrison, who's also related to me through a cousin's marriage, so to speak, but I've known him forever as well. And then I got my little cousin Quinn helping us out. He's 16. He's still in high school, and he's just infatuated with cars. And he's been coming with us the last 3 or 4 years, and he's really starting to come into his own. And he hangs out and watches the guys, and we try and give him more and more responsibility every race. And he's learning and having fun with it. So it's, fun to watch him grow. But I said they're all volunteer. And then I bring in Mark Savage to tune for me. He's, my only paid guy. And then a really good friend of mine that I've met through racing, who is also going to be at the World Series of Pro Mod running Top Sportsman, is Wes Goddard. And he's a guy, like I said, I met through drag racing up here in Canada. He's become a huge part of my team, does a ton of stuff on the car. He's kind of I don't know how to explain it. The guy can do anything on a race car. He's just an unbelievable fabricator and does a lot with a little and builds everything himself. And anyways, he's kind of became a really big part of my team, and he lives about an hour away from me. And so he's an important part of the program for sure.
Gotcha. And how about from the partner side, or is it pretty much all self-funded?
Well, I touched on that a little bit earlier. It's hard for me to have big partnerships on the car, like I said, because I can't spend as much time as some other guys can on giving back or providing support for their partners. That's not saying I don't have partners. I do. I've actually, since winning World Series of Pro Mod, I picked up Redline Oil. Mark Beatty reached out to me and wanted me to be part of the team, and that was pretty exciting. NGK Spark Plugs has come on board this year for 2024, and then I have a bunch of guys that we do business with here in town that have been with me forever and always kind of supported. Right, a lot of them been on there right from the junior dragster days, and they cut me a check every year, and a bunch of them come out and watch. A lot of them winter in Florida as well, so 4 or 5 of them were just happened to be there last year at World Series of Pro Mod, and so they came up Saturday just to check it out, and then they got excited when we qualified, so they came back Sunday, and obviously we went 5 rounds and won the race, so that was pretty cool for them. So all of them were pretty keen to get back on board for this year.
Yeah. So tell us about, where does the story of either the construction company or the different family businesses or Spencer Hyde start, and take us there and bring us to today.
So the construction side, my dad started in 1988 doing custom kitchens. Then he started doing custom homes and, worked his way up, doing bigger and bigger jobs. He was kind of a risk taker. Had a couple projects go really well and built on it from there. And, all the way up to where we are now. We've, it doesn't sound big. We've only got 20 people, but we do quite a bit of business. Like, we'll do anywhere from 50 to 80 million in sales a year in projects. And it's good. It's he's just a low key guy. He's passionate about what he does. He's honest as the day is long. And that's kind of where, I came into it second generation, and he's kind of molding me to take over, and he'll never not be involved. He's just the type of guy that'll work till the day he dies. But it's a good family group. We've got a tight knit group of people here in the office and in the field. And like I said, the racing was kind of my thing. I grew up with, riding snowmobiles and dirt bikes and four wheelers, and I always wanted to race snowmobiles or dirt bikes. And my dad grew up around flat track racing motorcycles, and he watched all his buddies get busted up, and he didn't want me on a motorcycle racing. And I had an opportunity to race snowcross when I was 14. One of my mom's cousins had an Arctic Cat sponsorship, and he ended up getting or selling his business and working.
Well, actually, so I'm in Florida. JT may know, he's in Missouri, but you're gonna have to tell us what snowcross is.
So snowcross is motocross on snowmobiles. They build,
hey, all right.
They build race tracks just like a motocross track, but for snowmobiles. So that's that's a northern U.S. and Canadian thing for sure. Actually, like Duluth, Minnesota is, I think that's where they start the snowcross circuit every year. It's usually a big event up there, but we got a pretty big following here in Canada as well. So anyways, I had an opportunity to do that at 14, and my parents basically said no, and they didn't want me getting busted up. And I had a good buddy of mine, Joey Hishin. He was racing junior dragsters, and I had known the Hishin.
Actually, before you go to the junior dragsters, question on the motorcycle stuff, was that on snow, ice, or dirt?
Well, both. It was on dirt in the summertime. Like the weather here in the summertime's, just like you guys get down there. It's, it can be 100 degrees here in the summer. So we do have a pretty good motocross season up here, but we also do ice racing, ice oval on the bikes, which is a ton of fun. If you've never, Flow Sports actually covers some of that. If you ever get a chance to scroll around there and check it out. I know they were just up in Quebec a couple weeks ago watching the bikes on the ice, or they were streaming it. It's pretty cool. But anyways, I had a buddy in junior dragster, and we went and watched him a few times, and I kind of got the bug, and my parents thought, well, there's seatbelts and a roll cage. Maybe this is the safer way to go. They knew I wanted to race something, really anything. And so I ran a friend's car in 2006 at the end of the year, and I ended up winning the first race I was ever in. Wow. So the bug bit pretty hard, and we ended up buying the car and running the 2007, 2008 season, or 2 seasons in junior dragster. And
question for you there, what in Canada, which track, and how long are the seasons up there?
Grand Bend Motorplex. So used to be part of the IHRA circuit back in the day. Pretty good facility. We'd run from kind of the end of May till the end of September. Okay. Is basically our season up here. So yeah, I ran both point series, the 13 to 17 and the 790 class for 2 years, and we actually did pretty well. Like my first year, I was 3rd in one and 4th in the other, and then 2008, we didn't run as much in the junior. I started crewing on Jim McCann's top dragster. It was a blown small block top dragster, and started going to races with him. And I was 16. I was 15 that year, but I was turning 16. And at the end of the year, they put me in the car and let me license in a top dragster. So that was pretty cool. And that was kind of the next step. We ended up buying that car at the end of that year. And I went to Frank Hawley's school through the winter and got my super comp license, and then ran top dragster in 2009.
Quick question. Let's remember where we are in the story, but I have a question for you about, you talked about that a lot of your partners and a lot of your crew guys currently are from your junior dragster year. How old were you when you started junior dragster?
14.
So question for you is, how does a 14-year-old create partnerships and relationships that end up lasting all this time? Like what did you have, or what did you already know as a 14-year-old that created that?
Just, I've surrounded myself with good people, but as for my crew guys in junior dragster, it was my dad and his 2 brothers. And his brother Ron is still with me today. unfortunately, his brother Murray got killed in an accident in 2016, and he was still helping me then. We were running top. We're probably 2016 would have been Outlaw 10.5. We were running. He was helping me then, but I mean, just they were my uncles. They loved coming to the track. They were both, I wouldn't say car enthusiasts, but they were definitely gearheads. They were motorsport type guys. But yeah, they enjoyed it. They could tell how much passion I had for it, and I think they'd like to be part of that. And then my buddies from high school and public school, I mean, we'd just been friends for a long time, and they were definitely gearheads, and they started hanging around more and more, and kind of like, hey, you want to help out? And they started coming each weekend, and like I said, I'm very lucky to have a tight knit group of guys. Like, none of us are play any sports, so this is our sports team. I think it helps that it's not a full-time job for anybody. This is something we do as a hobby, and we get together on nights and weekends and work on the car together. And it's a very relaxed atmosphere. No one's being forced to be there. If someone can't make it one night, that's fine. You can't make it. And, but they enjoy being together. It's very relaxed, and there's a lot of joking around and making fun of each other and stuff like that. And, everybody just kind of enjoys it. And, we work on the car for a few hours at night and then sit around and drink a couple beers and it's somewhere to go and meet and have some fellowship. And I think that's what makes, my guys so great, is that they're all buddies at the end of the day. They're not, it's not a coworker that they don't like, or there's no tension because the boss is an asshole. It's everybody enjoys being around each other, and that's what makes my team tick.
Nice. Very cool. So we're at Top Dragster in the story, or I forget what.
Yeah. So 2009 ran Top Dragster, and we helped create a local series up here. There was already a pro modified series up here called the PMRA, Pro Modified Racing Association, ran by Bruce Mellenbacher, and it was my dad and Scott Wildgust and Carl Spearing, a former successful pro modified guy back in the IHRA days. The three of them got together with Bruce and created a Top Dragster, Top Sportsman class to marry up with the pro modified class that already existed. And we had some money from Napa Auto Parts that was really supposed to be for our program, but we tossed that into the series to kind of put together a payout for the Top Dragster, Top Sportsman class. And we ran that from 2009 till 2014, I guess 5 years. Ran that. I ran Top Dragster the first year. And then Melanie Slemy actually ran Top Dragster that same year before her and John got married. She's from Canada as well, as most of you know. But so I've known her a long time. So we ran Top Dragster together in 2009. Then I switched to Top Sportsman in 2010 and ran that from 10 through 15. Won a few races up here in that series. And, that was a lot of fun. That's where I got a lot of seat time and kind of honed my skills on driving a door car. And I probably put 400 or 500 laps on in those 5 years. And in a Top Sportsman car running at that time where it was all quarter mile still, we're running kind of mid sixes. And then there was an Outlaw 10.5 group that kind of joined up with our series. And that was kind of the stepping stone for me. I always wanted to go pro mod racing. Obviously we were racing with the pro mod guys, and I always wanted to drive one. And, all my crew guys at that point were like, oh, that looks like too much work. Like, we're not doing that, blah, blah, blah. But, I just kept kind of pushing towards it. And we ran Outlaw 10.5, and we were pretty successful at it. We did it in 2016. We ended up runnering up in points. It was only a 5-race series or something, but we won a couple of races and lost the championship by 2 points. And
can I ask you a question about that point though. Since it is a business show and a lot of advice, like you talk about that you wanted to go 10-5 racing and the crew looked at it and blah blah, but it's what you wanted to do. Can you either tell us a story or give some advice on the you know the not stopping or the going forward, or how did you enroll them into that process?
Yeah, I think it was just, it was a natural stepping stone. I think the more we did as a crew, we were successful in Top Sportsman and we were having fun. And I think they knew too that we were going to progress. And they joked around about saying it was too much work and stuff, but at the end of the day, I know they love it as much as I do. And the more races you go to, the more you learn about your car and everything else. And the more comfortable they got, the services between rounds became shorter and shorter because everybody knew what they were doing. And next thing you know, we're standing around for 2 hours waiting to run again. So I would kind of jokingly say, hey guys, you guys got this down pat. I think we need to go to the next step and whatnot. And eventually they all kind of bought into it. And I mean, I just started buying parts. I just started changing stuff. And it was like, they'd show up on a Monday night and it's like, oh, we're going to put this in the car and these little tires are going on the back. And they're like, what? So,
Right.
Anyways, I think, I kind of drove the bus on where I wanted to go with it. And they knew my goal was pro modified and they seen me willing to put in the time and effort. And I think they wanted to be part of that. And we just went and did it. And we just, like I said, we did Outlaw 10-5 for a year and we were successful. And I said, guys, it's not that much different to go pro mod racing. We just gotta, we got to get rid of this Chevy and put a Hemi in it. And then we get the Hemi and they look at it and they're like, oh, this thing's so much easier to work on. And, this is better. And, now they're excited and it's like, okay, well, now we're going to get into some, get rid of the Power Glide and get a Lenko and all this stuff. Right. And it just kind of evolved that way. And the more parts we got and the better stuff we got, we just started getting better as a team. And then we were pretty successful locally up here in pro modified. We won a few races and then it was like, okay, guys, I'd like to venture down into the States and go to PDRA. And, they were all a little bit hesitant about the travel and stuff at first. And then we got there and they see how much more professional the PDRA is than, the local stuff we were running. And we ran better and the competition was tougher. And now the guys are excited to keep moving forward. And it's like, okay, well, what do we got to do to run with these guys? And it's like, well, aside from spending a bunch of money, we gotta learn this stuff and be better at it. And it got to the point where I knew I had to bring in someone to tune. I was tuning the car myself and I was still learning all the fuel system stuff. And I just simply couldn't spend the time at it or make the amount of runs that these guys do. And so I brought in Mark Savage and, that added another element to the team. It was kind of like a new boss, so to speak, for these guys. Like, he kind of called the shots and I mean, we did it together, but, he basically said what he wanted done to the car and these guys would do it. And we started having more and more success. And I think, winning breeds winning, right? So, I mean, you start doing well and everybody gets excited and you just kind of roll with it. And to this day, everybody's still very excited to go racing and it's a pretty cool deal.
Nice. So a couple questions I have. One, well, I'll ask these one at a time rather than just bombarding you with a bunch of questions. So
Yeah.
I guess before you go on to the next phase, just know that I have some more questions. The first question is, you talked about the Napa deal, and instead of using it specifically for your program, like, spreading it out for the greater good. Either what's some business advice or what did you learn or what's a story about that to share with the community here watching on the racing business?
I guess just you're trying to do this. You're a team, you're a self-funded team, or you've got a partner or whatever. You want to use that to better your team. But if the platform you're racing on or racing with isn't where it needs to be, you're not going to have any fun. So my dad decided, this money was better spent on a series to have a better place to race then fund our own car. And so that's where he got together with these guys and created this series, or helped create this series, and use that funding towards that. And, you know, the payouts were higher, the entry fees were lower, just the whole thing was more professional than it had been in the past. And the racers really appreciated that. And we got, you know, bigger car counts, and, you know, it was more of a family atmosphere. We'd put together concerts at the big races, and, you know, set up a wedding tent and do a potluck dinner and stuff like that. And it was kind of a sense of community. And well, Richard Freeman touched on it a couple weeks ago on your show about how he was trying to bring everybody together. And, you know, he's doing the same thing. He's using his partners for his team to kind of fund a big race, to bring everybody together and show that, you know, it's not just every man for himself. Everybody's got to work together and do this. And that was my dad's theory on the Napa Auto Parts money, was using it to bring people together and teams together and help guys that couldn't afford it. You know, there was certain guys that wanted to come there and you know, with your yearly entry fee, you got 4 free crew. Well, some guys are like, well, I don't have 4 crew guys. So it's like, okay, well, you know, take 2 of those crew guys and there's guys here that need 6 crew passes. So let's take those other 2 that you don't need and sell them to this guy. Right. So it was all kind of just a way of, like I said, bringing everybody together and building a better platform to race on. And it worked for a few years. And our problem up here is there's only so many cars in Canada. The border was getting stickier on the American guys coming up here. So it started to fade out. And then we got to the point where we wanted to run in the US. And so we started going down there, and then we weren't spending as much time up here and with the series, and, you know, other guys took over and stuff, but it just seemed to fade away a little bit. And, you know, during COVID, we couldn't cross the border. We kind of got everybody back together and put on a few races up here. And, you know, guys like myself and Scott Wildgust and Eric Latino and Ray Camiso and Jay Santos and, you know, all kind of the pro mod guys that would normally run in the States who couldn't. We all, you know, got on the phone and said, hey, what do we got to do to get something going here? And we did. And that's, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's people working together and trying to be, you know, create a better sport.
Yeah. My next question is about the border. You know, give us either some stories or some advice, or just any sort of business story about being a Canadian team running in the US.
The border's actually, touch wood, been pretty good. We've had good luck there. They kind of know who we are now when we cross. You know, not because of our success in racing, just we've crossed enough times that they recognize the guy. We all travel together always, so it's always the same guys crossing in the truck, and, you know, they kind of know the truck now. A lot of times they just poke their head in the trailer because they want to see the car or whatnot. So they've been pretty good. But racing out of Canada, to be honest, sucks. It's a logistic nightmare for getting parts here. We got to pay, you know, duty and tax on everything we ship up here. So, you know, a $10,000 block getting shipped up here, you know, it's going to cost me another $1,500 to ship it up here by the time I pay a shipping company, pay the duties and tax. It's, you know, and then that's not even duties. The duty is basically, you know, it's 15% of whatever the cost is. And then we've got the 30-cent exchange rate. Like for every dollar in every American dollar, it costs us $1.35. So it makes it really expensive to race out of here. And that's why you see a lot of the big teams, you know, race out of North Carolina or Indy or somewhere like that. Just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to race out of here. But because I do it with a part-time team and a volunteer team, I have to have everything at my house and my shop, or else I couldn't do it. I mean, I don't have full-time guys I can send to North Carolina and work on the stuff. So, and honestly, that's part of the success I think we have, is that it's all my guys that work on it together at the shop. And I think that's as much fun as going racing.
Right.
So, you know, that's a big part of it, and it's important to me. But yeah, racing out of Canada, I don't don't suggest it. it's it's got its challenges for sure. I'm waiting on a block right now that was supposed to be here yesterday that hasn't showed up because it's been delayed at the border for 2 days. So I was hoping to have that so I could put it together this weekend to get ready for World Series of Pro Mod, but I guess I'll have to wait till Monday or Tuesday when it shows up. But
gotcha. Well, and you did mention COVID, so that made me think of this question of just like, for me, I know how I work with a bunch of different racing series, and I know like on the drag racing side how the supply chain stuff affected it. I have a lot of clients on the sports car racing side, so it's a lot of stuff actually coming from Europe and Asia and stuff like that, and also racing in Europe. And I saw how that got affected there. How has it affected you being a Canadian team racing in America with all of the different shortages and stuff like that happened during COVID?
It's definitely been tougher to get parts. I mean, I think everybody's dealing with that, not just Canadians. I think, all the American guys are feeling it too. It seems to be getting a little bit better now. But yeah, it was a struggle. I mean, thankfully I had loaded up on parts kind of last winter, gearing up for the 23 season, and I had a pretty good stock, and working with people like Noonan, who like I buy off the shelf stuff at Noonan. It's nothing trick or fancy. It's their stuff, and fortunately they're in a position where they can stock a bunch of that stuff. So they're usually pretty good, where I can call and say, hey, I need a set of pistons and a set of rings and a couple sets of rods, and because I'm running their kind of stock stuff, they generally have it. But I mean, I've definitely waited 30, 40 weeks for a crankshaft and stuff like that, and it sucks. And then you got the shipping logistical nightmare getting it to Canada after that. So it's definitely a struggle, but it's something we've dealt with our whole racing career, so we're kind of used to it now. But yeah, it's not a lot of fun racing out of Canada, but we make it work.
Make it work. Gotcha. And the last, I guess, question I had in that line was, you talked about bringing on a tuner, and you talked about the cohesion of the group that you have there. And as a coach, I work with teams in different team dynamics and what happens when you bring a person on and stuff like that. Can you talk about just the team and how you were able to keep it cohesive when bringing someone on? And then a follow-up question to that is, for the Top Fuel thing, you just went and ran for another team? Was that the first time that you did that, and what effect did that have on the team?
Yeah. So bringing Mark on was, kind of strategic on my part. I had known Mark for a long time. Actually met him through Melanie Salemi, or Simmons at the time. He worked for Al Billis here in Canada, up in Barrie, and that's where I went to school. And Melanie's from up there, so we all kind of chummed around a little bit up there together when I was going to college up there. And then I had followed his racing career, just over the last 10 years of him racing with Al, running Pro Modified and the NAS deal, and running overseas in Australia and all that stuff. And I kind of wanted to bring in a guy that I knew would fit in. He's only a couple years older than me, and I got some young guys, so I knew he would fit in. And he's also a Canadian, which was kind of important to me to not that I wouldn't hire an American tuner, because I would, but I think it's kind of cool that we're we're both Canadian and we're going down and running against the top American guys. It's kind of a neat thing for me. But I just knew he'd fit in good with my guys, and he's got the right personality to, like I said, my guys joke around a lot and they poke fun at each other, and that's just kind of their way of showing their love for each other. And Mark's pretty good with that too. Like he kind of gives it right back, and we'll go out and something will happen and they'll all come back and say, Mark, what did you screw up? Like blame him, and it's all kind of fun and games, but it works well. And there's definitely times where people's feelings don't align or their thoughts don't align, and you get that tension, but you just kind of, as the, I guess, team owner, so to speak, you just kind of have to feel out those situations and deal with each of them individually, or if it gets to the point where you got to get two guys in a room and say, hey, let's get this out of the way. What's going on? We're a team here. Let's get it together and figure out how to move forward. But fortunately, I haven't had too many of those incidents. Running the top fuel team with running top fuel with the Paytons, that was a big deal for me. My uncle Ron has been with me since junior dragster. He's strapped me in the car every single run, pretty much for 10 years. Well, more than that, 15 years. And so when I got in that top fuel car for the first time in Toronto in 2022, I asked him to come down. Well, actually, my whole team came down and just made an 8-mile run in Toronto. And I had him strap me in. And that was kind of a comfort thing for me. And not that I didn't trust the Paytons. Obviously, they do it all the time, and they're really good guys. But it was a neat experience that my team got to meet the whole Payton team, and they got to interact the whole day on Sunday. And they were only running Friday and Saturday, like Paytons were. They were just kind of a paid match race show. So Sunday was kind of all about, getting me a run, and it wasn't really part of the show. It was just, we were just there to do that. And so there was no tension really on their end. So my guys interacted with the Paytons, and, they're an all Canadian team too. So they're, it was very cool. It was a lot of fun. It was great to get them to meet, my team to meet the Paytons and get a comfort level of just team interaction and whatnot. But that helped a bunch when I went and actually finished my license process in Gainesville without my guys there. I felt more comfortable around the Payton team, and then even moving forward after that into Pomona. When I went into Pomona, I had no qualms at all about being with them. I was very comfortable. It's a big reason that I went and did the top fuel thing with them, is because I really like their team and their guys, and Todd and Tony are great people. And it's kind of the same feel, like a family atmosphere around there. They're not a full-time paid team either. They're a lot of volunteer guys that, it doesn't cost them anything to come, but they're not being paid to be there, so to speak, some of them. And so that was kind of cool for me. And then, when we fireballed that one on Friday in Pomona, Q1, watching their guys redo that whole car Friday. We missed Q2 obviously, but they were like 11 hours. They stripped that car from basically the firewall back and redid the whole thing. And watching them do that reminded me a lot of my own guys, and that was pretty cool. And I got to videotape a bunch of that stuff and send pictures back to my team, and they were all following along, and it was a pretty cool deal. So but my guys didn't really feel a way about me going racing for someone else. I think that they were excited for me and knew it was a different experience. Mind you, they did at one point think that I was going to quit pro mod racing, and go top fuel racing. And they did feel a way about that. And they let me know that in December at Snowbirds. They were, very adamant that they wanted to keep racing our car, and we had a really hot car, and they didn't want to give that up. So anyways, we're gearing up to do as much as we can this year in that thing. And like I said, if I can put some funding together to go fuel racing again, I definitely will. And I'll definitely do it with the Paytons. They're great guys, and they treat me really well. So that's where I'll be.
Gotcha. I guess probably last question in this segment is, tell us, what was it like to, or just summarize your World Series of Pro Mod week, and what was it like to win that race, and then what did it just do for your life?
Yeah, that was a whole surreal experience. I mean, I didn't even know until a month before that I was going to get invited, or that I was getting invited. I went to PRI purposely to kind of rub shoulders with the right people, and I got in with JT and Courtney late night at the bar and kind of told them my story and told them how bad I wanted to be there. And we had a few drinks and I think they got the point that I wanted to be there pretty bad. And I kept bugging them after that, all of December and January. And we didn't really get invited till it was like late January. Like we only had 4 or 5 weeks before the race to get together. Now I had started getting stuff together because I was hoping I'd get the call. So anyways, just getting invited was really cool. Then I've never gone and tested for a week for a race. So that was a new experience for us. We left on like Saturday. We got there Sunday. Actually, that's not true. I drove down by myself like the Saturday before, 2 Saturdays before, stopped in Georgia at Justin Bond's shop. Mark and I finished putting the car together there. And then I went from there to Gainesville to finish my fuel license. And then I went from Gainesville to Bradenton. Like I said, we tested for a whole week before the World Series of Pro Mod, which we had never done before. So that was a big thing for our team to take that much time off and go do that. And I mean, obviously it paid off, but the whole week was just surreal. We made the first qualifying run, went 369 or something. And I thought, well, we're in the show. I mean, that's great. Turns out we weren't. Come Q4, I think we had gone 68 with an 8 or something at that point, or 68 with a 7. And by the time we rolled through the burnout box for Q4, we were like 35th or 36th. And then we made a decent run and went 68 with a 2 and got in by a thou on the 32nd spot. And, no one else, everybody else that was behind us was in. So we knew we were in, and that was another celebration in itself. And then we got back to the pits and we found out the car was broken. The chassis had broke on the left upper frame rail, right upper frame rail was split in half. So the boys worked till 2 a.m, welding that thing back together. And it was just a really neat experience. The chip draw obviously worked out in our favor. We were 32nd spot. So I think first round, we got lucky and we drew someone that was 20 something instead of number 1. But rounds 2 and 3, or rounds 3 and 4, I had to run number 2 and number 3 qualifier, Marcus Burt and Jason Harris. I mean, we had to take out some good guys, and thankfully I drove well that weekend, and Mark, picked up the car every round on Sunday. And I think Sunday in the final, when we ran Kurt Stedding, it went 64 with a 3, which was Melanie went the exact same right behind us in the second chance race. And other than the Pro Charger car there that went number 1, those were the 2 fastest runs of the weekend. So it was awesome. It was a good experience. It definitely changed my life on the racing side of things, opened a lot of doors, met a lot of people. Being on the cover of Drag Illustrated was something I had dreamed about. It was a great experience all in all. And it also put pressure on me to up our program in 2023. And I felt like there was, we were expected to do some things, and back to the balance between business and racing was, I had to spend a lot more time making our race program better, which, was taken away from my time at the business, and just trying to get that all balanced out and being able to do both well, takes a lot of time and effort, but I think it's paid off, and I'm looking forward to next week.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, we look forward to having it. And yeah, you're right. Everywhere you show up now, you're like World Series of Pro Mod champion. So you gotta keep that game updated. Well, question for you. Ready to put up your dukes?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right, 13 questions, 1 minute answers. That's the rule for Put Up Your Dukes. First question is, what's the strength of either Spencer Hyde or your racing program or your family's business? What's the strength?
surrounding yourself with good people. It's all about who you got in your corner and who's helping you swim in the right direction. It's all about the people. It's all about who's helping you, and like I said, going the same way together makes it easier.
Biggest weakness?
Time, I think. I don't know if that's a weakness, but it seems to be my biggest problem is finding the time to balance both work and racing, and you got to sacrifice a lot of stuff to do it, and sometimes that gets to me, but you got to keep going.
Biggest opportunity?
I think winning that race gave me the opportunity to show what we can do as a team, not just at World Series of Pro Mod, but within racing and PDRA. And I think that helped get me the opportunity in the fuel car and everything else. So I don't know what the biggest opportunity is, but just I think winning that race opened a lot of doors.
Biggest threat?
Biggest threat. I guess spending too much time racing and not enough time at work. That's you can get behind pretty quick. So that to me is probably the I don't know if that's a threat, but it's a struggle for me to balance those two things.
Most overrated and underrated part about being Spencer Hyde?
Geez, I don't know. I think the overrated part is people think it's all real easy and it just kind of happens. You just kind of spend money and it happens, but that's not the case. I mean, it takes a lot of work to be able to be successful in business and at racing. A lot of people don't see that. Fortunately, my guys do, and they all help me. And my parents are very supportive, and yeah.
Biggest mental hurdle?
Again, the balance. It's I think about racing while I'm at work, and I think about work while I'm racing. Trying to go there and to go to the racetrack and shut your mind off of work is, what I try and do, but it's hard because I've got 20 people here that, are looking to me for answers, and my dad likes to be at all the races with me. So he's with me. And I think that's the biggest hurdle is just, again, that balance of work and racing. It can be mentally exhausting.
What's the last thing that you have to say for the older folks, the generation that went before you?
Thank you for creating a awesome sport like drag racing. I think sometimes I wish sometimes I say I missed it by 40 or 50 years. I look back to the 60s and even the 50s of drag racing, and I think how cool that would be to be innovators and stuff like that in the sport. But if you really think about it, it's still happening today. I mean, technology is changing all the time, and you got to stay up with it. And it's the same as back then. It's just more publicized now. But I'm a fan. I'm a historian of the sport. I love looking back at the old days. And just thank you.
How about for the younger generation, the people coming up behind you?
Surround yourself with the right people. Be polite, be honest, be passionate about what you're doing. Be loyal. If you've got someone that's willing to help you out, don't forget about them when the next person comes along. Just always be good to your partners and just be a good person.
And how about your peers?
Same thing. I mean, in drag racing, I think we've all got a common goal of making the sport better, and And the more we can work together, I think the more successful drag racing will be as a whole. And all that takes is people just being good people and helping each other out, and again, swimming in the same direction.
What's your ask or from the racing business community here? What's the final thing that you ask of us?
Uh, just keep supporting the racers. I think that a lot of guys are like myself. They love it so much, but they're business owners as well, and it's hard to do both. It's hard to be successful in racing and in business if racing isn't your business. And the more support we have from the manufacturers and sponsors, the more guys like me that can go out there and do this. So just keep supporting.
Gotcha. And that's your greater good ask. What's your personal ask of us?
If someone can tell me how to ask people for money, that would be good. I'm horrible at it. We get hit up by every community event and sports team and charity event known to man here in the city. So I know how awkward it is to be asked for money. So I'm not very good at asking for it. So if someone can give me a lesson on that, that would be great.
Maybe Captain's Chair Coaching can help you out. I could certainly help you with that one.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Well, and people be receptive for Spencer asking you for some money, because we're going to come asking. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest on this show. Good luck in a couple weeks here at the World Series of Pro Mod. And thank you actually for being, one, for all that you do, but for being a great ambassador for the World Series of Pro Mod, being a great champion, and for really just taking that and going everywhere where you have with it. And thank you for sharing everything that you shared today.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you for joining us here on Drag Illustrated's The Racing Business with me, Jason Dukes. Remember that we are brought to you here by Racers Club, which Spencer is a great ambassador for also. So thank you very much for that. For executive producer JT Murder Tundra Hudson, I'm your host, Jason Dukes, and we'll see you here next week.